Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OWC 2025. We are bringing you our second match of the day in Group D. It is going to be China versus Thailand. I'm myFlame, joined for the first time by the one and only Gammy. How are you feeling about this matchup?
Yeah, no, it's an honor to be here. My first time on the OS live stream, and I definitely think that this is a match to watch. I think Philippines and Netherlands are the two countries in Group D where you kind of think, right, the name power from Philippines is definitely very, very strong. You're looking at players such as Zone Luis, Nathan Ram, some 5WC players as well, some D-ranker reps in Zany, Jitterish perhaps. And across the board, you look at Philippines and they seem to be a very intimidating roster. And and that's coming off a roster that has lost so much power in the past. You know, you think of them losing Enri, them losing Hyuk. I believe there was one more Milk Tearsome this year, I believe, was also some players that they lost. And even so, Philippines through and through is still one of the strongest countries just from a bare bones name power perspective. And then you switch over to the Dutch side, and where name power is concerned, I don't think any country beats the KT G-Star collab and Dota. But I think going into this matchup, I think it's really going to be a question. It's really going to be up to how well did both of these teams perform on the low SR. Because while it's very easy to say that, you know, perhaps a lower seeded team such as the Netherlands might be able to do a better job with a low SR, maybe they'll be able to win some coin flips through the consistency. At the end of the day, you switch your view to the Philippines, to the left side, and you realize they pack a lot of low SR prowess as well. I was talking about them before, but the D-ranker reps are definitely going to be very important in a matchup like this when it comes to guaranteeing that consistency. But iFlame, I think we are gonna get straight into our bans, or at least our ban order. What are your thoughts as to what these teams will open up with where bans are concerned?
Yeah, I think for the Netherlands, there's one big standout from the qualifiers, and that's that Hidden 2. They were 42nd. They absolutely just could not play. I don't think they really have any dedicated low AR hidden players. And the Philippines, they were incredibly strong on Hidden 2. It was one of their best maps. I think that is a must ban. You can either ban Hidden 2 or the Nomad 5, one of those lower AR maps. There's not the Nomad 3, apologies. But most teams opt to ban out the Hidden 2 between the two, which will leave the Nomad 3 open for the Philippines. In terms of Philippines bans, I think their weakest mod category was the Hard Rock, which was coincidentally the Netherlands' strongest. So you pick your weakest map between Hard Rock 1 or Hard Rock 2 and ban that out. Netherlands likely to pick the other one, but beyond that, I think you're feeling pretty good. Bans should be relatively straightforward for these teams as we wait for the first one to come through. And even though the Netherlands are the lower seed, they've got a bit of a history in the group stage, Danny. Back in 2018 and 2017, the last two times we had a group stage in OWC, the Netherlands made it out of groups as the third seed going into groups. They then proceeded to place top 16 overall in the tournament. Even better, in 2017, I believe they were top 12. So maybe now that the group stage is back, maybe that's just what Netherlands needed to take out some higher seeded teams. They do have pretty much the same roster as last year, though. They did not qualify. I think they've only got one new player in John Breath, or Draconia. As we still wait for that first ban. They are on a timer, but it looks like that is going to come through, and it's going to be a free mod 1 ban for Philippines. So they're not going to be banning out that Hard Rock. They're going to opt to ban that aim control tech map instead, and then Nomad 3. So leaving that HD2 open. All of a sudden, Gammy, I suspect that HD2 should be a relatively quick first pick for the Philippines.
Yeah, no, 100%. It makes a lot of sense just by the qualifier stats, right? HD2 is really your end-all, be-all, AR8 hidden comfort check. It really doesn't feature anything that special, so I think given how Philippines had such a crushing team score in comparison to the Dutch roster during qualifiers, this just seems like an absolute no-brainer. But I want to sort of pivot into looking a bit more into the bans that we just saw. Free mod 1 from Philippines is very interesting for me because I believe iFlame, we were talking about it, right? Hard Rocks were the only points or the only slots where the Netherlands beat out the Philippines in the qualifier. So perhaps this might be some sort of an ego move for them going into this 3-1 pick. And for what it's worth, I definitely think that even though the Netherlands on paper are stronger on those Hard Rocks, at the end of the day, the Philippines are still the Philippines. They will be able to put more than a good fight onto the table. But as we are talking, we're gonna get into the first pick of the Netherlands, the first map in this matchup. It's gonna be the Nomod 2. I believe this is a custom map by the lovely Ropen. And this is all about that 230 BPM speed, iFlame. I think you'll be able to tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, this map has an incredible storyboard. If you've seen it, you know, unfortunately, we're not going to get to see it this time around, but it is going to be that stream stamina map 230 BPM, as you mentioned, has quite a lot of bends first. You're going to want to look out for the accuracy drops towards the end of the map as the players start to get a little bit tired. And it definitely ramps up in difficulty about a third of the way into the map. We're going to see the dedicated tapping rosters on both sides. And I do like this pick for the Netherlands. Did mention the Hard Rocks, but the other areas that the Netherlands were strong on in the qualifiers were some of those tapping maps. And although the Philippines were strong on some of the tapping picks as well, I do think on these earlier stages, it's a lot more, it's going to be a lot closer than it was in qualifiers, which is a significantly higher SR pool. And as we've seen in some of the previous matches, the qualifiers don't necessarily translate to group stage results. It all comes down to the team consistency, and those individual performances matter a whole lot less. A quick reminder before we get into our first map, we do have a second match going on currently, China versus Taiwan on the B stream with Subaru, Arima, and Vorti. And a quick reminder as well to get your banners. If you want to show some support for your favorite teams in the Osu shop, you'll get a cool banner on your profile. There's no limit, you know, you can get as many banners as you want if you want to support multiple teams. And if your favorite team wins the Osu World Cup, you'll get to keep that banner for the rest of the year.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, iFlame, for that reminder. Before we begin this match as well, I think you and I were talking about this before the matchup, but we are, in fact, not going to refer to the Dutch players by their original pre-name change names, because I think you guys will be equally as confused, and we will be even more confused in the commentary booth. So, yeah, that is their quote-unquote punishment for this matchup. But with a good luck, have fun's coming in chat. Hopefully, we should be off to the races very, very soon to maybe arrow back into the matchup that we have on screen. I do believe that the Netherlands did slightly edge out the Philippines, or at least the Nomod 2 was rather competitive in the qualifiers. I'm not too sure which team had the overall higher score. Might have still been the Philippines, but I mean, the Netherlands showed to have a very, very close performance, or seemed to be very close to the Philippines when it came to their qualifiers performance in that Nomod 2. So if that's any indication of their ability to play on a map like this, especially given the low SR of this match, I definitely think that even though, you know, Philippines, once again, 10 seats higher than the Netherlands, will be able to pull off some, well, I don't want to say miracles, but pull off a pretty impressive feat. But without further ado, let's get into our 230 BPM speed slop, well, not really slop, speed strain map. It's gonna be Kyokugen Bon Odori.
Looks like we do, in fact, have a Netherlands command in the chat now, if anybody is curious about the pre-named name changes for the Netherlands, but we'll see how they can perform going into this first map. Philippines, didn't mention yet, but they have 4 new roster players. Jitterish is one of those, making their OWC debut. We'll have to keep an eye on those nerfs, but it's going to be Gengazo or Knight finding the first miss of this map for the Netherlands. Philippines still holding 4 FC strong, but this is where the map starts to pick up in difficulty. Just in about 10 to 15 seconds, and Jitterish is going to find that next miss, as does Ramu. So now Netherlands should be able to pull ahead in the score lead. Actually looking good as well. Zone Louise now. It is Nathan Ram, the Philippines star player carry for the last few years, the last one holding combo. Trying to fend off 3 players though. He is going to need a little bit more backup to bring this one back.
Yeah, Nathan Ram, the bastion of Philippines, trying to hold back the floodgates right now, but John Eastcan, John Breeze, and Windtails are all pursuing that scoreline further and further. They're looking to drag it to their side, and they're not looking to slow down anytime soon, but Windtails finds a miss alongside a bunch of accuracy drops. So does John Breeze, and suddenly the scoreline is a lot more competitive as Ramu, Jitterish, and Zone Louise, the 3 supporting combos, are looking for the counter attack. We get into the break, the last third of the map, and here's where the players see the scores. They know that it is still close, and from here on out, there is absolutely no room for error for Eastcan. It's on a map like this where, you know, it's just 2 minutes long, this 200k score difference can be made up for extremely quickly, especially when you have 3 large supporting combos in favor. But we've seen misses come in the KIs before, and we see exactly that in Jiterish in the build-up. But here we go, final full swing into the KI, and Nathan Ram is gonna get slow slided. Don Breeze might create it up, but that's not who you need to go down. Don Ethan and Gengalzo hand in hand, beating out Zone Luis and Ramu as you race into this final quarter of the map. The kick sliders be damn. I think iFlame is already gonna be over.
It should be. There's a lot of... It's pretty
my goodness, wait,
that's
so close.
Zone Luis and Ramu are holding these massive combos. There's no combo Netherlands to match, and they could bring it back, Emmy, but they do unfortunately run out of time. Netherlands, I think they're going to be a little bit relieved as they managed to hold on to their first point. And it was just that unfortunate slider break from Nathan Ram. Gets the S rank, but misses on pretty much nothing.
I don't like this iFlame.
Win it by 75,000. Philippines.
I don't... Giving me a heart attack on the first map, dude. Holy crap.
They gotta make things interesting for you. But Philippines feels like they have quite a few options for the picks, especially with that No Mod 3 banned out. I think we should just see the Hidden 2 first. But beyond that, feels like they have a lot of good options. Potentially some of those Hiddens. I mean, Philippines were pretty incredible on the Hiddens in qualifiers all around. So I think after the HD2, they could look right towards that Hidden 1 in Overdose.
Yeah, I know. I think the first pick here, I mean, they have a very, very solid segue in, and I think the Hidden Pool is just so Philippines favored, and it makes a lot of sense for them just to go into it extremely quickly. I am interested in perhaps, you know, talking about other potential picks that the Philippines has. In particular, I'm also looking at some of the control picks even. I mean, DT3 seems like a pretty interesting shout to me. I'm very, very interested to see if the Philippines look to go into the free mod 3, but I think at least until we get into the mid stages of the game where more sort of angles of attack get revealed, you probably won't get to see any of that. But I mean, there are 2 ways that you can see the Philippines' next pick, right? Either they go for a consistent, solid pick on the board, such as Hidden 2, or they go for a more risky Hidden 1 pick that also opens up the opportunity for these more controlly picks. And it looks like they will go for the latter. It is going to be Coconut Love by I Love You Orchestra. Oh my god, I love this map, iFlame. I love this map.
Coconut Love is an absolute banger. It does mean we might get to see some different players this time around. We're going to be seeing both teams' speed rosters. Of course, for the Philippines, generally, you're going to see Nathan Ram and Icarus in for pretty much every single map. And for the Netherlands, you're going to be seeing Windtails and John Ethkin in for pretty much every map, except for Radiant. So we probably won't be seeing John Ethkin this time around, as they aren't much of a Radiant player. But Cammy, before we get into this Hidden 2, let's talk about this group for a bit, because this group is an absolute banger. One of the most exciting groups in the group stage. It is Brazil, Philippines, Sweden, and Netherlands. Brazil did take down Sweden yesterday in a close match to go up 1-0. And I think most people would agree, the Brazil, Philippines, Sweden are all incredibly close. Netherlands, maybe a bit of an outlier, but Netherlands is an incredibly strong team this year. They've had some really good scores in qualifiers, and based on their previous history in groups, they've certainly got an outside shot at getting through as well. So this one could go either way, but generally you need to get at least 2 wins if you want to make it through the group stage. It is technically possible to make it through at 1-2, but just incredibly unlikely. So especially when you still have the top seed in Brazil to go up against, the Netherlands would love to get this win, and it would be huge for them in terms of making it to groups.
Yeah, and I mean, for all the doubters in chat saying, oh, it's a 10-seed difference, there's no way they do this. Well, I like to divert your attention to Group C, where Spain actually beat out Chile. Again, another 10-seed differential. Chile was seed 10, Spain was seed 20. And Spain, I mean, pulled ahead 4-5. So never say never. Never say never, I think, is the main takeaway for this entire group stage. But with the good luck, have fun's coming in chat. It looks like we're going to see the substitutes come in Zany and Ikarusi. Zany makes a lot of sense for the Philippines. Ikarusi, across the board, one of the Philippines' mainstays. A very, very solid player. And one of their all-rounder carries as well. Meanwhile, I don't believe we see any roster swaps. Correct me if I'm wrong, iFlame, from the Dutch roster. Without further ado, let's get into 2 minutes and 30 seconds of AR8 consistency.
Yeah, it really is that density rating focus. We can definitely see some lower accuracies on a map like this. John Ethkin, it looks like, is going to be in from the Netherlands after all. I'm not sure if Dalter's around, who was their kind of go-to hidden player in the qualifiers, but OWC debut now for Zany. Welcome to the World Cup stage, and of course, this is going to be a pretty important one for Philippines. You mentioned that Spain match. They went up 3-0 to start that one out. Maybe Netherlands can do similar because they're off to a relatively good start on this HD2. I will say, compared to qualifiers, despite Netherlands struggles, this one's a lot more manageable. Well, you're going to see a trade of misses, but there's 3 misses for the Netherlands, and those are big ones. They're going to be 350 combo behind, and there's not a ton of combo to be had in this map, so that's going to add up incredibly quickly. And with 3 FCs against only Knight for the Netherlands, Philippines really going to start running away with this one. And the map is not that much harder towards the end. It's relatively consistent in terms of difficulty. And look at the accuracy from Nathan Ram, 99.2, looking so good.
Yeah, no, I mean, Ikarusi might find a miss, but you need more blood to spill in order for that scoreline to shift towards the right side. Already going to the second half of the map, the Dutch roster was put at such a far back foot against, you know, the double FC coming in from Ramo and Nathan Ram and the early combos, and now the recovery from Zany. I mean, it's just a whole bevy of large combos from the Philippines, and it really speaks to the consistency coming in from the Filipino roster. But Gengalzo is still holding the fort. I don't want to discredit that whatsoever. I mean, if we see a meltdown from the Philippines, they're waiting right there for that opportunity. But the question is, will he even begin to think about that opportunity? Final KI comes in, and Windtail and ETHCAN are finding misses. The situation's looking dire now as John Breathe is the only recovery, the only support from Gengalzo. Ramu might find a miss, but as you move into the last 8 of the map, I fear, iFlame, that there's just not gonna be enough time. This was the Filipino hidden 2 that we were so scared about. This is why we call that ban. And as Gengalzo finds a miss, that's gonna be the final guillotine lowered on this hidden 2. That's exactly what you want from a first pick.
Yeah, that is a very strong score from Nathan Ram. Should be able to close out the FC here, barring any unfortunate misses. We do see Knight dropping that one as well, but I don't think the Netherlands are going to dwell on that point too much. This is kind of one of those scheduled losses, you could say. You have 2 low AR maps in the pool. Unfortunately, you only have 1 ban, which means you ban out your least favorite low AR map, and you just kind of accept that you're almost certainly going to lose the other low AR map. So Netherlands, they'll be okay with that loss, and I'm sure they're already thinking about their next pick. Curious if we do see them go towards one of those hard rocks now, or obviously they could go back into the tapping, and that is exactly what they're going to do, following up that Nomad 2 with a DT2 pick. This one a fair bit faster. We're going to be up 25 BPM at 255, and this one I'd say is a lot more stamina intensive. There are tons of very dense bursts. And there's a really tricky kind of guitar solo section 2/3 of the way into the map that has claimed a lot of combos so far this weekend.
Yeah, no, I really want to draw attention to this double time 2 pick because of the implications that it has moving forward in a matchup such as this one. If the Netherlands win this double time 2, it's important to remember they still have the Hard Rocks still left in their hands. Although the Hard Rocks might be a little bit competitive considering that it is the Philippines that you are going up against at the end of the day, right? I still think that having 2 easy picks to take you all the way to that guaranteed match point is something that's very significant. So if the Netherlands do pull ahead on this DT2, they are looking in a very, very good position to at least run the distance with a match. But with that said, I definitely think that this is another one of those maps similar to the Nomad 2 where it could just really be down to a coin flip at the last second. I think Aza put it very well in one of the first few matches of this weekend, that it's like these all the DT slots with the exception of maybe DT3, the Nomad 2, and somewhat the Nomad 1 are maps where you're really just anticipating 8-way FCs from the entire board, right? And any sort of faltering, any sort of miss, any slight misstep or trip from either one of these players can just instantly cause the scoreline to skyrocket in favor of either side. And it also is by nature of the by nature of DT as a mod with like its massive 1.2 times multiplier and the extremely short drain of DT maps in general that causes the volatility of this scoreline. So I mean, with that said, we'll have to wait and see. I believe this is 255 BP. This is a 255 BPM speed check. And overall, it's really just gonna be a, perhaps an accuracy check perhaps just a comfort check on your high BPM. I believe this is also the highest BPM map of the pool. So yeah, we have to wait and see. Let's go.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And this is going to be pretty telling because we saw one of the other teams in this group, Brazil, 4-way this just yesterday. That was a crazy score. So I don't think we're going to see any more 4-ways in this match. So that would be incredibly impressive. But to your point, Gammy, I do think you're going to need to see at the very least one, if not two FCs minimum in order to win this pick. And so I think if you're the Netherlands, it is going to come down to that consistency. And even the Philippines as well, potentially a couple more NARs with some newer players. But they've got 3 of their veterans, Nathan Ram, Dylan Luiz, and Accuracy in for this one. So I don't think that'll be too much of concern. And you're going to want to see pretty high combos, really, up until the halfway point at the very least, where the map is easier. And you're going to want to keep an eye on those accuracies. Accuracies on speed maps, generally a pretty good indicator of a player's comfort level. We see Windtails with that early miss is down at 96, but is recovering. I think this is a pretty easy start to the map relative to the second half. So it's kind of important to get your lead here. And so far, it is Philippines with that slight lead off of the accuracy plus the early miss from Windtails.
Yeah, that's right, but it's going to be a while before we see any sort of action happening towards the scoreboard, as you know, both teams still holding strong, but Jitterbridge is going to be the first one to find the miss. Perhaps the OWC stage nerves really getting to him, and with that, the Netherlands are going to take this scoreline in favor of themselves as we move into the second quarter of the map. But Windtails once again going to trade that up, and now it's going to get compounded by Gengalzo. Jitterbridge might find a miss, but it's now 3 FCs to 2. They are putting the pressure, and they are causing that scoreline to skyrocket in favor of themselves. I mean, iFlame, this is the volatility that we are talking about already. It was just 1 miss from Gengalzo, and we are seeing that scoreline grow to almost 100k as we move into the second half of the map.
Yeah, on a map like this, 100,000 points is not actually that much. It could go back over very quickly with a couple misses. The problem is that score lead continues to grow by the second as Philippines continue to hold these 3 full combos. And at this point for the Netherlands, there's so much pressure on John Breath and John Athkin because any miss could very likely spell the end for them. We do have the solo section coming up. This is a big potential miss point, but all the players in this lobby are capable of hitting this section. Jitterbridge is going to be the first to miss. That was not the combo that Philippines really cared about at this point. The 3 FCs that they need are holding strong. Accuracy drops a lot of action. There goes Nathan Ram. That's 1 FC down, but Netherlands likely to need 1 more. But they have Windtails on the support. There goes John Breath, trades the FC back, and now at 1 FC apiece, I think Philippines should be able to hold on to this one, although we could see a breakdown in the ending. Oh, it was a Bancho break for Nathan Ram, so they're going to run away with this one.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, 3 FCs, Nathan Ram given a second chance of life with the Bancho miss, and you know, the 3 big combos from the Philippines just gonna completely cull out any sort of comeback that the Netherlands can pull out. Final stretch section comes in, but it's almost a 500k score lead in favor of the Philippines, as that's gonna be the first break point of this match going to the Filipino roster.
Yeah,
that's tough, iFlame. That's tough. This is tough.
It is. I mean, it's a really solid team score for the Netherlands. 3.1 million is a great score, of course. You can definitely see the idea behind the pick. But I think just underestimating the Philippines' potential on this map. And it was exactly the case, right? Philippines put up 4 S ranks, pretty much 3 FCs. Obviously, they were missed in the last 100 combo. But I think if you want to pick this map, really, if any team in the Challengers group wants to pick this map, you're going to need to have 2 FCs minimum at the ready, or it may very well go the other way. That's going to be a break point now for the Philippines, and they're looking to extend their lead by yet another point with their next pick. Feels like they have a lot of options open. And the question for the Netherlands now is, where do you go from here? Because there's not too much tapping necessarily left in the pool. You could go for the free mod too, but that is more of a stream map than a speed focused map. But that's a question for after the Netherlands pick. For now, they've got Hidden 1 open, they've got both the Hard Rocks open, and it feels like Philippines have a pretty clear path forward.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a Hidden 1 angle, right? I don't think that I think any other pick is slightly more risky, but I also think that maybe they would want to dabble into the free mods, because picking into a free mod opens up the other half of the free mod pool for them. So that could definitely be an option that they might be interested in going into. But I mean, I like to go back to what we were talking about. You know, the using this double time free for the Netherlands really cuts out a lot of their potential picks, because GT2 is really one of those coin flip maps, and you were saying, right, if anybody in this challenger group wants to go into these sort of coin flip match, they need at least 2 FCs minimum. And the thing is, I don't doubt that the Netherlands lack these 2 FCs. It's just that the Philippines are just that much stronger. They probably packed more FCs where it was coming from, more consistent FCs as well. But as we're talking, the Philippines are gonna go into that hidden one as we anticipated. This hidden one, Overjoy Overdose. It's a Mia map. We all love Mia. Scream if you like Mia. This is, I believe your what is this? What is this? Swing alt slider tech. I think that's how Shift put it. It is a real like mixed control sort of map, right, Ifrin?
Yeah, it kind of tests a bit of everything. You know, it's slightly rhythmic. Yeah. It's got finger control thrown in, some tough slider aim. I hope everybody's practiced, but it is very possible to find misses on that first pattern if you're not prepared for it, but I suspect everybody will be. And the difficulty really picks up towards the end of the map, so it's going to be important to get that laid early, because if not, you're going to have a tough time making it up in the end. We are going to see a relatively similar roster for the Netherlands, and as we just wait for Zone Louise pop out of the lobby, he's currently on the wrong side, although I'm sure Netherlands wouldn't mind that addition.
Definitely right, but it looks like I believe we are probably just gonna see the hidden roster of the Philippines come in. I wouldn't be surprised to see Zenny or Icarus here, as they were in for the hidden 2 as well. Meanwhile, the Netherlands, I don't think we've seen a lot of roster swaps across the board. I'm expecting Gengalzo to be the 4th. Yep, Gengalzo is the 4th for the Netherlands, and yeah, as it stands right now, it doesn't look like we're gonna see a lot of roster switches just yet. I am so excited to see this map and this song. I believe this song was one of the highest performers from one of the years of the BMS of Fighters. I can't exactly remember which one, but I remember seeing it on release, and it was like the song artist collab for this song was just incredible. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. It was, oh my goodness, I can't quite find it now. But yapping aside, let's get straight back into the match on the ground. Without further ado, let's get into Overjoy Overdose.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, we did just see China and Thailand take a run at this hidden one, and they put up 3.75 and 3.69 million respectively, which are some pretty ridiculous hidden one scores, honestly. I would be pretty impressed if we saw that here. But this definitely feels like a significantly harder map than the DT2. Expect to see a lot more misses generally, a lot more breaks, and it means that if we see, one FC on either side, that could absolutely be the difference maker. We do see an early miss from Nathan Ram on one of those first patterns, but this is a pretty much easier section now, so Nathan Ram should be able to recover it without too much difficulty.
Yeah, that's right. Currently early days, a lot more to be desired, as all 8 combos are getting pretty large. The scoreboard is gonna even out, but as we move into a more slider control section of the map, here's where we're expecting to see some misses, and Gengalzo is gonna be the first one to go down. Now 4 FCs to 3, but Zany is gonna trade that up. Now it's 3 to 3, and once again we are evening out the scoreline. The accuracy, however, from John Ethan is what's pushing the Netherlands over the line, getting that 30k score lead alongside the combined efforts of course the 98 and 97 from the rest of the roster. But here we go, going into a bit of a slower section right before that mixed KI, and Windtails is unfortunately gonna find a miss, and that's instantly gonna cause the score to shift back in favor of the left side. They are 3 lot combos to 2.
Yeah, that is such a tough place to miss, especially when it could be the map decider. Icarus trades it back though immediately. Netherlands, they've been given another chance at life here as we get into the tech section. This is so difficult, and John Breath misses immediately. There is so much potential for misses, though. It is going to be 2 FCs to 1. But Galzo Knight finds that miss as well, and Netherlands needed that supporting combo. There goes the last F3C for Netherlands, and Gammy Philippines extend this score lead so quickly. They've still got 2 FCs strong. The supporting combo is there as well, and they should be up 3 to 1 after this one.
Yeah, that's gonna be the final nail in the coffin for this hidden one. I mean, a complete wipe from the Philippines, right? I mean, you see Nathan Ram, Ramu, and across the board, Zany and Ikarusi on the recovery, so incredibly dominant on a map such as this hidden, and this is exactly why we were talking about the danger zone that is the hidden pool during this match. I mean, they are gonna run away with a past 700k score lead on a map like this. They will be taking no prisoners on this hidden one. Oh man, what a way to win a point.
Yeah, apparently the Netherlands have 5 players available at the moment, so I'm missing 3 who are unavailable, and that makes picking incredibly difficult because a lot of picks that would normally be strong for your team, all of a sudden, not necessarily options. You kind of have to pick based on what the available players are comfortable on, which
Mm-hmm.
is incredibly limiting. So we'll see if Netherlands do feel comfortable with those hard rocks still. We've not seen John Zenith, Tuchel, who's one of their go-to hard rock players, so that might be a reason why we haven't seen those hard rocks quite yet. But it does feel like at this point their best option left in the pool because they do still have, Windtails and John Etkin, their core 2 at the very least, who would be in for those hard rocks. And I mean, I think Perth again likely missing, John Zenith likely missing, and Burning John or Manigat as well.
I wonder if they're just not here for the match or they haven't been able to find a way to get into the matchup because
I believe one of the members said they're working.
That's tough, and we're not gonna see the hard rock pick come out. I mean, John Zenith not gonna come in, and we're instead gonna pivot into that free mod too. What are your thoughts on free mod? Because free mod is not something that we typically see. It's not something that we can base off the qualifier results, right? It's really just something where you take the highest scores from both the hidden and hard rock and then try to make some sort of comparison.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I mean, this is one that I mentioned earlier. It is kind of the last tapping map in the pool. And although it's not speed, tapping has started to look good for Netherlands. If they can just find a bit of consistency on the pick, then this could have a lot of potential for them. Now, the mods are going to be interesting. I'm curious if we do see any overmods. It definitely has overmod potential, especially for a player like Nathan Ram, if you're comfortable enough on the pick. We have seen a couple players hidden hard rocket as we tend to in these early rounds, but for those not familiar with the map, this is 195 BPM aim control streams, and so while it is a tapping map, it is a bit more of an aim control focus. You've got a lot of spacing changes in the pattern and some very sharp angle changes as well.
Tapping players will call this aim.
You're not wrong. Tapping players will call anything aim if it's not a 250 BPM speed map.
But well, huge shouts by the way. This is a OS original from the 7K Mania World Cup, if I'm not mistaken. MB Mayo, a very well-known composer, very well-known artist in the scene and in the community. And I really, really love this song. I'm so stoked to see it. I like to redirect your attention to the drain of this map. I mean, this is again another one of those maps similar to what we saw in maybe the DT2, where it's all about the volatility. 2 minutes and 15 seconds. That just causes the scoreline to shift on either side whenever there is a huge combo differential between either team in this match. So definitely expecting to see perhaps some heart attack inducing scorelines going forward, especially given how that No Mod 2 went. The Philippines at the very end, they looked like they could steal it. But we'll have to wait and see. This map, all about that modded consistency, that modded comfort on, as you mentioned before, aim control streams. Let's get the Nightmare Invitation.
Not going to be seeing any overmods this time. We get OWC debut number 3 for the Philippines as they bring Lord Gabriel in.
Lord Gabriel!
Their go-to hard rock player. They've got Ramu on the hidden, and I do really like this from the Philippines. Put your strongest player in Nathan Ram on that no mod to give them the absolute easiest time and the best chance at full comboing this pick. For the Netherlands, we've got Windtails and Knight on the hard rock and hidden respectively, so not going to see any overmods there either, but we do see a lot of early misses from the Netherlands. Certainly not off to a great start, especially when you look across the aisle and the Philippines still have 4 FCs. Nathan Ram's holding an SS, and this map is not that difficult on the no mod. This is the kind of thing that Nathan Ram is very capable of FCing, so there's no guarantees that we get misses from all these players on the Philippines, and it's kind of John Etkin versus the world right now.
Yeah, no, definitely not what you want to see in the early stages of the map as Gauza and Windtail continue to find misses. Nathan Ram and Lord Gabriel is going to slow down the bleeding, trading them up, but again, it's just going to be ETHCAN versus Ramu and Zone Luis, and until we see some misses coming in from the Filipino roster, I don't think that any progress can be made in favor of the Netherlands. Not to mention, he's staring down double 99s. I mean, what do you even do, right? We get into a more, the more space section of this map. back into, you know, more and more kick sliders coming to attack these players, and currently it's just gonna be a stalemate. We're really waiting on that next action, and unfortunately that's gonna befall on John Eathcan finding that miss. And I don't want to call it too soon, iFlame, but I think that might have just sealed the fate of Team Netherlands. At the end of the day, really, I don't think they had their Hard Rock player in for this, and even if they did have the Hard Rock player, I mean, you have Ramu and Zone Luis basically holding down the fort, Zone Luis being the battery of this Filipino roster when it comes to the no mod, and Ramu with the additional anchor. What do you even do?
It is difficult. I mean, it's a very tough ending, but unless we see like 100 train misses to the Philippines, it's just not going to matter. And as you mentioned, Gammy, it is rough, right? Windtails is definitely not having a good time on this Hard Rock, although to be fair, it is just a really difficult map with Hard Rock. Lord Gabriel is only about 20,000 points ahead, and in the end, it looks like Windtails will be passing Lord Gabriel, but possibly had they had their full roster, they could have somebody else on that Hard Rock and let Windtails take the no mod. We do see a miss from Remu in the end, but it's going to be Zone Luis getting the full combo on this free mod 2 with the no mod. Or not.
The Netherlands didn't even do bad. They didn't even do bad. The Philippines is just insane.
Yeah, and the Netherlands have certainly found themselves in a difficult group, and while they have, I think, some pretty strong scores relative to the tournament, in this group, a lot of these scores are not going to cut it, as Philippines has the next pick. They're on match point. They don't have any hiddens left, I guess, is the bright spot for the Netherlands, but there are plenty of picks left in the pool. They could go for the no mod 1 if they really wanted to. They were third place on that in qualifiers. However, especially in these higher seeded groups, most teams generally consider the no mod 1 to be a little bit of a coin flip map, as it is just incredibly comfortable. Very playable, and it comes down to nerves and unlucky misses, but I mean, Philippines have generally been pretty consistent, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see them opt for something like a no mod 4 could be interesting, that slider tech map. And then you have the DTs, obviously, the Philippines looked incredibly strong on. I think both DT1 and DT3 would be strong picks for the Philippines, so the world is their oyster at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, the Philippines have they're spoiled for choice, essentially. At this point, they kind of just want to, I'm kind of just hoping for a show from the Philippines. What do you want to see, I feel? I personally really want to see a DT3, or I want to see the OS original in Hard Rock 2. Or honestly, any of the no mod pool, apart from maybe no mod 1. You know, I love no mod 4, love no mod 5, and it looks like Zone Luis has the same idea. He's just rolling for the pick, and the dice lands on no mod 4. So it's gonna be Heliospear, yet again another OS original. This time, is this another Mania World Cup one? I can't quite remember. I believe this is another Mania World Cup.
It is Mania, yeah. There's a couple Mania.
We all love Mania. I believe this is a standard remap. Oh, Catch! Oh my goodness, I love Catch. Catch has all the best customs, dude. But jokes aside, Wispy. I mean, this is once again another Wispy map, a Wispy standard remap. I believe this is also pending, so if you guys like the song as much as I do, I know me and my gang hard practiced this map after it dropped in OWC. It's such a fun map. But the new of the game for a map such as this one is all gonna be about your end all be all slider tech, right? This map features a lot of slider ticks, so you need that slider tracing discipline, as well as some weird reading as per nature of tech as a genre or tech as a mapping style. So yeah, once again, gonna be a control check for a lot of these players, and I'm gonna be very interested to see how this plays out.
Yep. As we await our Osu original, we do get Perhap in the lineup for the Philippines, as Philippines will complete OWC debut number 4. I think that's really exciting. They've gotten every single one of their new players in for at least one map in this match, and I think especially in these earlier stages, really good to get your new players some experience, get them kind of used to the world stage, because I think we've heard a lot of players talk about how much pressure it is to be playing in front of so many people with the stakes so high, and Netherlands, of course, just going to be running their same roster because that is all they have available. This map definitely feels like one of the more difficult maps in the pool. There are, as I mentioned, you have to be incredibly disciplined with that slider aim, and there are so many places you can find misses. The map, once it gets started, it doesn't really let up. You've got a burstier section around 1/3 into the map to keep players tested on the tapping, and as the good luck have funs come through in the chat, we begin potentially our last map. The Philippines can close this one out. Windtails, John Ethkin, John Breath, and Kinkauzo looking to keep Netherlands alive in this match.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is our, fourth, fifth OWC debut, and perhaps coming into the lobby for this OS Original. And as you mentioned, I think you put it very well. There's so many places where you can find misses. I would honestly liken them to landmines. You know, it's very easy to just blink, and especially with how incredibly dense all the sliders make this map. There are so many avenues where you can just lose focus and you can find a miss. John Breathe gonna be the first one to go down. Early lead for the Philippines, and this early section of the map is gonna give you a taste as to what's to come. All about these slider takes already claiming some of these players as we get into the early stages of this map.
Yep, and when we do get into the early stages, it looks like over on the B stream, China has just won 5-1 over Thailand, so a very strong result from them. And our match might be headed the very same direction, Gammy, but Philippines, they do still have to close this one out. We can't count our chickens before they're hatched, as perhaps does find the miss, maybe some of those OWC nerves early on here, but this is not a long map, so these early misses absolutely matter. John Aitken now has a good recovery, as does John Breath, so Netherlands can hopefully bring this score lead back over. Unfortunately, the accuracy giving them a bit of a tough time right now. They've got a couple players down around 94, 95. Meanwhile, on the side of the Philippines, you've got Zany 98, Nathan Ram on 97, and perhaps approaching 97 as well. But if we don't see any more misses, which is a big ask, it will eventually go back over to the Netherlands. Here we get into a slightly burstier section now, and accuracy and Windtails, it is just going to be that trade of misses between Philippines and the Netherlands. So 2 full big combos for the Philippines, and 3 on the side of Netherlands, although I believe it's 1 FC 2-2, just those bigger supporting combos for the Netherlands. Now, after this break, we get into a much trickier section towards the ending, and we'll see if these big combos can hold on for each team.
Yeah, that's right. I definitely think that the early safety net from the Philippines, does provide them some security going into this extremely dense slider aim section of the map. But as we get into the first few sections of this KI, in fact, nobody finding any early misses. A few sliders come in, and it doesn't catch anyone off guard just yet. And in fact, with more and more of these combos being generated for the Dutch roster, it is going to slowly but surely shift towards the right side. But John Breathe, that miss is going to put a stop to their efforts, to put a stop to that counter attack. Nathan Ram and Zany still doing God's work right now. Double 800 combos, really playing in favor of the Philippines, perhaps. And Ikarusi right there to cancel out any sort of response from the Dutch roster. Windtails and John Ethken, try as they may, it's not going to be enough to put a stop to the freight train of the Philippines. We move into the last 8 of the map, and I think iFlame, the score is just only going to continue to grow as John Breathe finds the miss. The cut patterns come in. Ikarusi taking a quick break from playing the map, but I think it's gonna be a done deal. The final nail hammered into the coffin of the Netherlands. And final nail in the coffin hammered into the backs of the Bantro client as well. You love to see it.
Yeah, the players just leaving the lobby a little bit early after that one. We got some bunch of delay on our end, but the players don't experience that in game, obviously. So when the players leave the lobby, we don't get to see that ending score screen, unfortunately. But a couple of very impressive FCs from Zany and Nathan Ram, and congratulations to Philippine are in order as they go up 1-0 in their group. Now tied with Brazil, in fact, slightly ahead if you go based off of point differential. The Netherlands, I have to say, they've been dealt a tough group for sure. They've got a tough task ahead of them, but I think they put up some pretty strong team scores, especially considering they were only working with 5 players. That's always so difficult to manage because not only are you missing some of your key players, but it makes it incredibly difficult to go for the picks that you'd normally want to. And another congratulations to the Philippines. We do have a couple more, we have a lot more matches coming up for today, but immediately after this one, in about 15 minutes time, we have got 2 matches. I believe it is Indonesia versus Finland at 13 UTC. It's going to be on the A stream, and then we've got Taiwan versus Denmark on the B stream.
Yeah, big match gauntlet. It's gonna be a lot of work for our lovely streamers, but it is what it is. Before we go, iFlame, I'd just like to, raise up the Netherlands roster real quick. I think this match could have been a lot closer had the Netherlands pulled their entire roster, right? There were all the hard rocks that were just completely untouched during this match, where I definitely think there were points of attack for the Dutch roster. But at the end of the day, what has passed, and they can only continue to look forward. iFlame, do you have any thoughts as for the match upcoming? I believe that is going to be, is that Indonesia versus Finland? I thought it was Thailand versus